going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NASCAR Pocono Organics 325 show. I'm your host, Travis Mangone, back with two of my buddies who take care of some of our NASCAR work over here at Run Pure Sports. We got Coop, we got Mike. How's it going over there, Coop?
Hey, it's going very well. Just sitting around, watching Dustin Johnson and Abraham Answer destroy my lineups. I didn't play any of them. And then, a typical NASCAR weekend, sitting around waiting to see if it's going to rain or not. It seems like every week, some type of rain is involved. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It doesn't look good for the trucks, but I think it's a little better for the NASCAR series.
All right, Mike, how about you, man? How are you taking this weekend? Doing with the golf. We got UFC. We got so much stuff over here on Run Pure Sports Soccer. I mean, we have so much content going on. So are you playing all the DFS? What are you doing this weekend?
Actually, this weekend, I'm just sticking to NASCAR. Haven't played one showdown slate for golf. Just going to let my my Thursday lineup ride out. Hopefully, I can get back into the green. It's going to be tough. But no, I'm just going to enjoy the beach this weekend and just focus on NASCAR all weekend.
Nice. I'm excited for, NASCAR, UFC. We got all the stuff going on. The golf has been good despite all the carnage that's been going on. Tons of guys just getting cut left and right. It'll be a fun finish. Excited to see how it all shakes up. But let's dive in. Let's kind of talk about this slate here. Now, Coop, talk to me about the course or the track, whatever you want to call it. If it's the track, we got all these different worlds mixing together. So the track, as you would say, give me the breakdown. What do you think is going to happen with it? Like, give me all the info you got.
We have a Long Pond Pocono Raceway, which is unique because it has three turns. All three of them are different. There's no banking or very little banking on the track. It's basically flat. And then you have three long straightaways that are in different length, with the front straightaway being the longest by far. And this used to be a race that came down to strategy, but when they came into introducing stages, that kind of got rid of the gas play and stuff like that. So it's a very difficult track to pass on. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on drivers who lead laps and then finishing position. The drivers who are starting in the back, I'm trying to avoid as many as what I possibly can. I mean, I do have some, obviously, but it's hard to go from 25th to 20th or 30th to 25th. So there's going to be a lot of drivers that finish right around where they start.
Sounds like a pretty interesting way to approach the slate. How about you, Mike? Are you doing the same thing? How many dominators are you going to be putting in your lineups? Are you looking at place differential? What are you kind of looking for here?
So I think Coop nailed it. I mean, you're going to need to get some guys starting in the back, but it's really smart to focus on starting position because it's kind of tougher to pass here. So you really want those guys to finish a little bit further than where they started. And, guys starting in the back end might struggle a little bit more than we usually see here. So I mean, dominator-wise, I'm probably looking at 2 per lineup, and then maybe 3 in some.
No, I'm not even really looking at it from a dominator perspective because, there could be one driver that goes out and leads, 60, 70, 80 laps, whatever, but there's only 130 laps. So I'm just trying to focus on, the 3, maybe 4 drivers that lead those laps because in the past, when you lead laps in Pocono, you get fastest laps. So the fastest laps is going to make a big difference because you get a half a point for them. So, just starting position and laps led is what I'm really, focusing on.
All righty. Yeah. So let's dive in. Let's kind of go through, all these different drivers here. I think this is definitely a slate that, you have to, you have to like, right. We got two different races going on this weekend, tons of different NASCAR. Do the trucks affect it at all, Coop? That's one more question I figured I'd ask you. Do the trucks have any effect on what's going to happen with them racing a little bit earlier or anything?
If they do get the truck racing, it'll help, put some rubber down on the track. But other than that, there won't be any effect on it whatsoever. If they don't get the race, then it'll be a green track. But again, it's flat. So, it's not, I don't know. I wouldn't pay much attention to it.
All righty, sounds good. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the first set of drivers. So let's go with the first 3 drivers here. We got Almirola, we got Blaney, and we got Hamlin. 3 drivers that are definitely some people are going to look the roster in DFS today. Hit me with it, Mikey. Who are your favorite of the 3 drivers here?
So off the starting 3, Almirola is a good GPP play. He's going to start in the front. Like I said earlier, it's tough to pass, so he could get some early laps led. I don't remember what his price is. I'm not playing him because I'm only making 2 lineups this week. I really like Blaney this week. There's just something about him. He has 2 top 10s here. He's starting second. He's only led 11 laps through 4 races. But starting second, I'm hoping he can get out in front of Almirola early and then lead the early portion of this race and then be one of the tougher guys to pass. And he's looked pretty decent this year. And then Hamlin's obviously my favorite driver in NASCAR. But putting all bias aside, starting third, he's in an interesting spot. I'm not sure what kind of ownership he's going to get. He's only 8,800, which is just cheap for the type of driver he is. He does have a win here in one of the last 5 races. So, he's interesting. I'd probably, ranking-wise, I'd probably go Blaney, Hamlin, and then Almirola as far as playing them.
All right, Coop, how about you? What are you doing at the top here with these set of drivers?
It's always difficult when you have somebody like Almirola, get it on the pole position because he's only $7,300. So, he doesn't need much, to make value. He is going to be probably 20% somewhere in that ballpark as far as ownership goes. But, he doesn't have a very good track history here. I can see him, either one or 2 things obviously going to happen. He's either going to, get some laps here at the beginning and then fall back, or he's going to fall back, immediately. I can see him, finishing in the top, 5th to 10th place somewhere in that ballpark. But for him, it all comes down if he can get those couple dominator points because he doesn't need much, to make value if he gets those points. But then again, if he doesn't, he's dead in the water. So I'm going to take my chances. I'm passing on Almirola. There's a lot of good drivers surrounded by him. He doesn't have, like I said, great history here. So hopefully they can get out in front. One, like Mikey, I'm on is Blaney because, the guy's just flat out, putting the numbers down. I put in the playbook, his finishes. He's just incredibly, first, second, third, fourth place finishes here in the last 6 or 7 races. He's led a lot of laps in those races. He doesn't have, great history here, but it's not bad. He doesn't have a lot as, compared to other drivers. But, the thing that sticks out too is he wasn't great at like Darlington and, Atlanta, some of these other tracks. And he's overcome that. So I have the feeling that he can overcome that here this week too. And then Hamlin, I think Hamlin will probably be one of the 2 chalkiest drivers on the slate. Like Mikey said, the price is just 8.8. People are going to flock to it, and I think if you bring Kyle Busch into it too, I think Blaney, Busch, and Hamlin are going to have the biggest ownership of the drivers starting in the top 10 by far. And I see a lot of people flocking to Hamlin and Kyle Busch. So for me, it's Blaney. I'm going to stick with the guy who is, proven what he can get done, and he is the hottest driver going.
Yeah, I was going to say, Blaney's been fast too, man. He's been absolutely crushing. Yep. So I think that he makes a lot of sense there. Let's go to the next set of drivers.
Wait, Mango, before we go to those, so, like me and Coop just said, like the price for Hamlin's 8,800. And these pricings came out obviously after starting position, which Draftkings I think did a pretty decent job with pricing this week. But if you look for the Sunday race, Kyle Busch is 11,000, who we're going to talk about in this next thing. And he's 11,000 for tomorrow's race, and he's in 9,300 for this race. And then Hamlin's 10,200 for Sunday's race, and he's only 8,800. So I think that's also another reason people might be looking at it and be like, wow, yeah, that's the chalk. That's where they're coming from. Just a big price difference.
Yep.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Like, if you look at Hamlin's price, he's definitely someone that people are going to gravitate towards a bit. Definitely makes some sense here in this spot. Do you think he could be a guy you want to pivot off of in tournaments, Coop? I guess that's one thing we should cover before. Like, do you think his ownership could get too high?
Who, Hamlin?
Yeah.
Yeah. My strategy is to fade Hamlin because I can see him coming in at 45, 50%. I haven't looked at any projections. I'm just thinking out loud, but you know, I just see Hamlin, Blaney, and Bush getting so much ownership because of their prices, because of the history of Hamlin and Kyle Busch. And I think so many people are going to start with, two of those three drivers. And I want to try to be different. And I just want to stick my head out and play Blaney.
Alrighty, so Blaney looks like the guy you guys are both going to be on and have heavy exposure to. Let's go on over to the next one. We got Kyle Busch, we got Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and Kurt Busch. These are four drivers that are pretty good. Mike, kick it off for us here. Who are your favorite guys?
So my favorite guy in this range is obviously Kyle Busch. He's probably, obviously I'm going with Kyle Busch. He's my guy in this race. I mean, he's going to be chalky. I think this is a race where he could finally be Kyle Busch again and actually dominate somewhat of a race. So Kyle Busch is actually my favorite in this range. And then we have Chase Elliott, who I think is just, Chase Elliott's going to get ownership. We always talk about it every week. He's everyone's favorite driver. He's like the name. So he'll get ownership. And I think I'm actually going to be fading Chase Elliott this week. It's not that he's a bad play. It's just I rather pay elsewhere. And then Joey Logano, I just don't know if he's going to be owned. I mean, he's Joey Logano. He knows how to drive a car. He's a great driver in the race, or in NASCAR. It's just I just think there's better plays here, but I think he's going to be really low owned if someone wants to take a shot if they're multi-entering.
Alrighty, what about you, Coop? Who are you going with here? We got Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, all these different guys. So many good drivers here in this range. Tough to choose. Who's your guy?
Yeah, I agree with Mike that Logano will be the one that's the lowest owned of the top 10 drivers. He just doesn't have great history here. He struggled here recently. So, people are going to look at that, myself included. I'm just going to stay away from him. Kyle Busch, again, I'm going to fade him because, I've been thinking like, what's going on with Kyle Busch? Every week, we say things like Mikey says, I've played him before. This is his get well week, and, he's had those before, but he doesn't have any speed, none whatsoever this year. And he's not driving aggressive like he has in the past. So, I was thinking like, what's going on with the guy? And, I think that not having these practices has really affected him a lot more than some of these other drivers. Whether it comes down to, him not communicating with his crew chief on what the adjustments need to be, him not understanding what the adjustments need to be because he has not been in these positions before where, he's had to make them during the race because they've all been figured out beforehand. But, I'm not going to trust the guy again, until he does something to show me that he has speed in his car. I'm going to stay away. And, he's going to be chalky. I could see him coming in at 40% too, because again, the price is just incredible and his, previous results here. So, and then, with what Mikey said, people are going to say, hey, this is his get well week. So I think, staying away from Hamlin and Kyle Busch is my plan. And then I have the opposite on Chase Elliott. Yeah, he is going to be popular, but he's the most expensive of these drivers in the top 10. So I think that's going to help keep his ownership down a little bit. I would probably say 20, 25%, somewhere in that ballpark. But I want to try to be, 1 to 1.5 times, his ownership. I have a gut feeling that Chase does very good here. He doesn't have, stellar results here, but he doesn't have bad results here. He's always been in it. He has several top 10s. I think 6 out of the 8 times he's raced here. He's been in the top 10. And again, like Blaney, I want Elliott because Elliott has been good this year. And, I'm going to put a lot into Elliott and Blaney this week because they have proven that they can race. And I think they can come over, the, lackadaisical, so to say, performances that they've had here before.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts for you guys in this range? Or do you want to move on to the next set of drivers? Anyone got anything? All right, well, let's move on. We got Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman, Martin Truex, and we'll put Jimmy Johnson in here too. Again, these are some really good drivers here in this range, right? I think you gotta take some serious looks at some of these guys. There could be some good place differential here starting to get in this range, right? Once we start getting above that 10 spot, there's some drivers that are good in my opinion that I feel like you can get that floor as well as getting the laps led. So, Mike, who's the guy in this range for you that you're going to be loading up on?
So there's actually two guys I'm going to be loading up on. It's going to be Kevin Harvick and Truex. Truex I'm leaning more towards. Like I said, I'm only building 2 lineups this week, and Truex somehow keeps falling in 2 of them. I don't know if that's going to continue, but Truex is just, he's a great driver. He's got a win here in the last 4. He's got a couple top 5s. He's one DNF that's really hurting his average finish, but other than that, I think this could be a race that we really see Truex sell in. And then Kevin Harvick, he's led 181 laps through the last 4 races here. The prices on these guys, $9,700 for Truex and Harvick. So Harvick's 10-1, which I think him and Elliott. What do you think? Is going to be similar? I think they're going to be similar in ownership, and that's why I rather lean Harvick than Elliott in that spot. And then as far as the other guys, Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson. I'm only building 2 lineups, so I'm not going to be going near them. But Mangoneare, we were playing Alex Bowman because he's been fast. I don't know if I'm going to go back to him this week.
Yeah, Alex Bowman was fun until he decided to tank that one race, man. Then I was very mad at him, but that was very frustrating. Coop, how about you? What are you doing with this range? Again, some really good drivers, and I'm sure you're going to be rostering some of them.
I have a lot of interest in this range. They'll start out with Kurt Busch. I'm with Mikey. I'm not, on Busch this week. I think there's too many other good drivers around him, and he hasn't had great history at this track. So I think he's an easy fade for me. Jimmy Johnson, is someone that I considered, but ultimately the price I went away from. He doesn't have what he's been showing the last couple of weeks, what he was earlier this year. So Alex Bowman's intriguing to me because the price and where he starts, I think where he starts and his recent results is going to keep people away. His price makes him playable because he can't hit value from there. So I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned than what people would think at that price. So I do want some Alex Bowman. And then the 2 drivers that I'm highest on, obviously Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex. But I want some Keselowski too, because this is a Keselowski type of racetrack where he can play his strategy and think about things and short pit, long pit, 2 tires versus 4 tires, do different things. And he's done well here before. Penske's shown a lot of speed this year. And I think he's going to be, after Joey Logano, probably the lowest owned guy in that top 10. So it's not going to take much to get over top of him. But my strategy in general is really Blaney and then Elliott and then one of these guys, or Blaney and then 2 of these guys. I'm really trying to, stay with the people who are driving at the top of the starting and hope that they get those fastest laps and laps led.
All righty, let's move on to the next range. We got Ryan Newman, we got Ricky Stenhouse, we got Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Austin Dillon, and we'll throw Clint Boyer in there as well. What are you doing with this range of drivers, Mike?
Okay, so this range of drivers, there's 2 drivers that I'm really looking at. One is William Byron. That's one of Coop's boys. I'm hoping Coop also likes him. It's one of his better tracks that he's had. And then Clint Boyer's another guy I'm looking at. He's 9,500. It's a little high, but he has finished in the last 3 races. He finished 11th, 5th, and 11th. he's starting 18th. I think he's a great place differential play. I think he can get into the top 10 this week. If he can run in the top 10, I think he easily finishes in there. And then prior to that, I mean, this is one of his, I would say, better tracks in recent history for Boyer. So I think Boyer's going to be a really good play for cash games potentially, just because of the fact that, like me and Coop were talking about earlier in the podcast, you're going to need drivers that have a good starting position and that can finish, in front of it, and they don't start super far in the back. I mean, 18th is, right in the middle of the pack. Top 10 be solid day for Boyer. And then, like I said about Byron, he's got good history here as well. Other than that, I mean, Ryan Newman, you were on the Ryan Newman train for a little bit when he was finishing in that like 12 to 16 range. I don't think I'm going to be touching him. Doesn't have great history here. Starting 13 is a little too far forward for me. And then, other than that, I think that's the only two drivers I'm really, really touching are Byron and Boyer.
Alrighty, Coop, how about you with this range? We got some drivers I typically like the roster. I normally like roster and Reddick and Byron, even Ricky Stenhouse when I know he's not getting in a wreck. So can you tell me if he's getting in a wreck, Coop, and who should I go in this range?
No, very similar thoughts to what Mikey has. I do think Clint Boyer is a very good GPV play. I think he's going to come in lower owned because of that price tag. He's really banking on points differential. I don't see him getting up and leading laps. So I could see him coming in the 10 to 13% range. And I think if you get 15 to 20%, he could be a nice play because he does have that top 10 potential. William Byron, I have a lot of. He's done very well here, like Mikey said, and no reason to think it's going to change. I want to try to be overweight on Byron. And then, Newman, I think, is an okay play. It really came down to me. I'd rather have Truex and Bowman versus Newman. I can see Newman making his values, finishing 13th position and not killing you. I just decided to go away from him. Reddick, I have no interest in. I don't think the track fits his style. And then the other driver that I do have interest in here is Austin Dillon. He's very cheap, 6,200. Doesn't take much to make value at that price from where he's starting. If he can get up 2-3 spots, he'll do fine. I think 12th is his best finish here, and he's very consistent in finishing in the top 20 at this track. So I think that he could be a sneaky kind of play that people kind of overlook, and he really doesn't need much to make value.
Alrighty, any final thoughts here for you, Mike, in this range? Or you want to move on to the next set of drivers?
No, I think we can move on, and I'll touch back on it when I compare a driver.
Okay, I don't know. Is it Eric Jones we're going to compare? He's normally a guy I thought about lumping in that range. Yeah. I was going to, but I kept him out. But I always like playing me some Eric Jones. Price is normally good. We got Nemechek, we got DiBenedetto, Matt Kenseth, Bubba Wallace, and Chris Buescher. And let's throw one more in there. Let's throw in Coop's boy, Cole Custer. He loves him some Cole Custer. So let's throw him in there
I'm staying away from Stenhouse, by the way, this week for you.
All right, so you could stay away from him. But Coop, how about you kick us off instead? Talk to us about Cole Custer and the rest of the guys here. So from Jones to Custer, what are you thinking?
I may or may not have a Cole Custer addiction. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I like him again this week. So, the price is there, and he's done very well on these flat tracks so far in his young career. He finished well earlier this year in Phoenix, and then prior in the Xfinity, he's done well in Pocono races. So I'm going to stay on him. The guy's going to be, 8 to 10 to 12% owned. So you don't have to have a lot, probably don't want to play as much as I want to play him, but 15% will definitely get you double the field on him. So I like him as a great GPP play. Going back up, obviously, Eric Jones, great play. Somebody you might want to consider locking in. This is a better track to potentially lock him in because the attrition isn't high. And I think he's finished in the top 5 4 times, and the top 10 5 times out of his 6 attempts. So he obviously likes this track. He's a cash game lock, and I think in GPP, he'd probably be the highest owned driver. What do you think, Mike?
Who was that you were talking about?
Eric Jones, highest owned driver this week.
Yeah. Sorry, I was twiddling with one of my lineups.
Yeah, and then the other 2 drivers that I have interest in here is De Benedetto and Busher. I don't want to go crazy on them, but there's not a lot of value to choose from at the bottom. So I think a lot of people are going to go to Busher. He has a good chance of making it in the top 20. I don't think he can get in the top 15, but he can get you some points and pay off. And then De Benedetto, I think, will come in a little lower owned than what people think, because the price tag's kind of up there on him at 7.6. So he has to get up to 14th, 15th to get some points. But I do like both of them. I don't know if I'd play them together, maybe 1 or 2 lineups. But that's the whole thing in this area. You got to watch who you play together, because all these drivers, again, are competing for the same place differential points.
All righty. Listen, any final thoughts with this range, Mike? Did you want to compare Jones to some of those guys? I know you talked about a little bit. Is there anything else you want to add in with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, me and Coop both talked about William Byron. He's a great play. But William Byron's 8,400. So, like Coop just said about Eric Jones getting all this ownership. I mean, Eric Jones, 7,100? Something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, I think, going to take a lot of that ownership away. And if you look at William Byron, he's starting 80. He's 8,400. Well, people are going to see Hamlin at 88 and just try to squeeze him in there. So I think that might lower William Byron's ownership. And then we come back to this range. You got Eric Jones, 19, 7,100. Like Coop said, he's probably going to be one of the highest owned. Matt Benedetto's racing. This probably is the best equipment he's been in. I like him this week. He's only 7,600. Coop talked about his finishing for top 15. I think it's definitely doable. And then Matt Kenseth's the guy that's really interesting to me. I think this could be a really good week for him. This could finally be a week where we see Matt Kenseth, get into that top 10 and just maybe finish in the top 5. I just got this weird feeling about him this week. He may end up in my cash games. That's how weird the feeling I have for him. I actually really do like him this week. I think he's a great play on FanDuel as well. And then Bruce Busher, I think he's an interesting play. He's 6,500, starts 24th. I don't think he's going to be super high owned. I think this is a guy that could surprise some people if he can get into that top 15, if not further. And then Cole Custer, I'm going to let Coop just ride that train out, and he'll ride the Cole Custer train. I'll ride the Kyle Busch train, and one of us will have to hit eventually.
Yeah, my suggestion was going to be, why don't we switch to Chris Buescher over Cole Custer, right? That's what I was thinking was like an interesting pivot. Again, the Custer doesn't have like amazing amount of ownership, but I thought that was something you could kind of consider. But we'll have to see. I'll bank on Kyle Busch turning before Cole Custer, but obviously price matters as well.
The other piece that I like doing, Jones is going to be popular, but Jones is going to be in so many lineups that have Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. And I think, fading them, helps you with your ownership on Jones, because again, half of his ownership is going to come from being in lineups with those 2 drivers. So, I think that helps give you an edge with Jones also.
And that's why you got to load up on Matt Kenseth in cash. Then you're fine.
I'm jumping off of Kenseth.
When you have Eric Jones and Kyle Busch, you just throw Kenseth in and you're fine.
All right, guys, let's we'll move on to the next range. But before we move on to the next range, guys, please hit that like on that video for us. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. Also did want to mention, we got the playbook up. We got Coop's article up. So guys, check that out over at Run Pure Sports. Tons of content over here. So be sure to check that out. Next range, we got Michael McDowell, Brennan Poole, Joey Gase, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, and we'll throw in Smithley in there as well. And we'll even throw in Quinn Huff. How's that sound? So those are the guys. We're going from 26 to 32. Coop, any guys in this range entice you?
I think the only one that entices me is Preece. And, he really doesn't entice me a lot. His price is fine. His starting position is great. But, I can see him finishing 22nd, 23rd, 24th. I don't know. I have a little bit of him in case he does, do a little bit better than that. But again, a lot of these drivers you start in the back, they're going to get low fantasy points, and I would rather have, let's say an Austin Dillon. I pay a little bit more for him, and he finishes 17th than what a Priest finishes 25th. He's probably going to earn more points. Dillon will. So I'd rather put my ownership there. So none of these, Michael McDowell, I'm sure Mikey will be on him. He moves every week. So, but then all the other drivers you mentioned there, the only other one I have an interest in, but I didn't end up playing him, is LaJoy. He doesn't have very good track history here. I don't think he's ever finished in the top 25. But again, he's a good pivot in this range.
Mike, how about you? Is there anyone in this range you like? It doesn't seem like a good range at all of drivers that you'd want to really get too much exposure to, but any guys really get you excited?
Well, yeah, the two drivers, Coop. I mean, the one driver Coop talked about is Ryan Priest. Definitely like him starting 30th. He's been fast this year. I mean, 30th, a little far back, but for that 5,800, he's going to allow to get some of these other drivers into your lineups. I think he's a safe play, definitely cash playable. And then, yeah, obviously, I'm going to like my boy Michael McDowell again this week. I mean, he's finished in the top 23 in a row. Guy is on fire. If he was starting 30th instead of Priest, I'd be all in on McDowell just because so much place differential. But I just pulled it away. Let me go back to it. I had his stats up because I want to talk about him. But yeah, McDowell starting 26. I think he finished in the top 20 like 3 of the last 4 races as I pull it up. So I mean, top 20 in 3 of the last 4 races, and then here he's finished in the top 25, 20th, and 16th, which is all positive place in the 5,500 is going to give you lots of room to build up. But if you're playing him, then he's going to be the guy starting furthest back for you. But other than McDowell and Priest, I'm not touching anybody else.
You think McDowell comes in over 20% this week?
No, I do not think so. I think Priest will be higher on them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Man, Coop,
my boy McDowell.
Coop, I was gonna say life's about expectations. Mikey is like fired up for 3 top 20s in a row for Michael McDowell, man. That's a pretty low bar he has set.
The guy's overachieved in every race this year. He's gonna have to have some regression coming in here pretty soon.
So he went top 24 out of the last. Oh my God! Give me McDowell, baby.
4 top 20s, man. This guy's
Okay, so he went 18th, 15th, 14th, 24th, and 14th in the last 5 Cup races, and the highest he was priced was 6,300, and the lowest he was priced was 4,900. That's just value, baby. That's just all that is. Averaging like 40 points to those. Come on.
We'll have to see. I mean, is his starting spot a little higher than it's normally been at 26? Is that because I know he's been at like 35th at times. So is 26 still okay?
Yeah. I mean, this race, I think starting a little bit. I think it's a perfect spot for him. I wish he was, like I said, I wish he was starting a little bit further back, past someone like maybe Quinn Huff or someone was in front of him. He usually starts around 30th. I mean, like you said, he had a 36th start, but he's been starting around 30th the last few races.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We got JJ Illy, we got Ty Dillon, James Davison, Christopher Bell, who's the most expensive driver. Definitely want to get your guys' take on that. Daniel Suarez, Timmy Hill, BJ McLeod, and we got Josh Billicky. Let's go to you, Coop. Talk to us about this Christopher Bell price tag, because I'm assuming we're fading because you faded the Jimmy Johnson price when it was as high as it was. I'm assuming you're doing the same here, Christopher Bell.
That would be correct. It's very comparable to what you said, Jimmy Johnson. And for me, I think on FanDuel you can play Christopher Bell, but on DK, I wouldn't touch him because he's got to get a top 15 inside of that. I think 12 to pay off, and he hasn't had very good results here in the Xfinity. And then just to pass that many drivers in the short amount of time, he's going to have to be near perfect to do that. So, I'm going to let other people chase him, and hopefully it pays off.
All right, Mikey, how about you? What are you doing here with this range? Christopher Bell, all these different drivers here, man. Like this is definitely a range of guys that we want to look at, right? Because in GVPs, if they get up towards the top, there's obviously some upside, but they're not the best drivers always.
I mean, I don't really expect anything to the top. I mean, Ty Dillon's interesting, but I think he's 7,200. You're looking for a top 20 for him, top 25. If his price is down, then yeah, maybe I'd be on him more. Christopher Bell, if he wasn't 11,000, he'd be a fantastic play. I just think that's way too much for him. So I'll probably also be fading Christopher Bell. I don't know if that's going to surprise Coop or not, but I will not have any Bell. And then other than in that range, I'm probably not touching anyone. Maybe a shot or two on Daniel Suarez starting 37th, but doubtful.
I do have some interest in Ty Dillon. Like Mikey said, I think his price is high, but he does have that upside where he could get an outside top 20, finishing 22nd, 23rd, and again get you some points. He's going to get more points even though he's more expensive than, let's say, Michael McDowell. If he can finish, well. I think, the price keeps his ownership down too.
All right. Any final thoughts on these guys, or do you want to get to some questions maybe in the chat if you guys want to fire some questions? Any final thoughts on these drivers?
No, I don't think it's a very good week to play the, very low drivers of Yaley and Gase and drivers like that. So, I have no interest in any of them.
All right. Mike, you got any FanDuel cash plays? We got one question there. I guess give some cash takes on, or not cash takes, some FanDuel takes for the people to help them out.
For the people, let me go to FanDuel. So for FanDuel, as we always talked about, and we talked about it for Draftkings, we're looking for finishing position, start position, a little bit more important this race because not as many dominator points. I think it's 97 total for Draftkings, which means on FanDuel, there's about 13 points, I think. It's ridiculously low. So finishing position is very important this week on FanDuel. Now, FanDuel, guys, we talked about that on DraftKings that I really like for FanDuel as well. Like guys like William Byron, 10-4, starts 16th. Eric Jones is 10,000, starts 19th. Boyer, who is 9,500 on DraftKings, is only 9,400 on FanDuel. And I think he's I think he's a great play on DraftKings, but I think he's a much better play on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. And then, like I said, I like Matt Kenseth starting 22nd. He's 7,400 on FanDuel. Those are for the lower tier guys. And then for the top range, we got Harvick, Busch, Hamlin, Truex, Elliott is the top 5 price guys. I like Kevin Harvick's 14K. I think you just play him on DraftKings if you're going to play him this week and maybe stay away on FanDuel. And then Truex, I think, is going to be one of the higher owned guys higher owned of the top guys. He's only 12.5. I think it's a really good price for him on FanDuel. I would probably try to get Truex into your cash game build on FanDuel. And then Ryan Blaney's 11.8. He's starting second. We talked about him already. I think he's going to be a very interesting play for FanDuel. If he can stay in that top 5, I think he might be lower owned as people will try to just, pay the extra 500 to 1,000 to try to get some of these other drivers.
All right.
You don't think in FanDuel and cash, you might want to go to Ty Dillon and Christopher Bell so you can fit in, 3 other drivers that, whoever you want to, basically.
Well, Bell's 8,000, Ty Dillon's 6,000. I don't hate the plays. I just feel like, finishing position, you can go up to Chris Buescher, 75. I think he's very interesting. Ken's at 74. Your boy Cole Custer's 69. I think there's very interesting plays there that can finish in that top 20, which would be better than a Ty Dillon who only finishes 25th. So, it's very, very interesting. I don't hate it. Honestly, sometimes in GPPs, I will go down to a guy like Ty Dillon at 6,000 and load up on the front. But, I don't know. He just doesn't have that same upside.
Right.
All righty. Let's see if there's any questions. No, we don't have any other questions. So what we'll do is let's do our what are your 3 drivers you're overweight and underweight on? So kick it off for us first, Coop. Give me 3 drivers you're overweight on and then 3 that you're underweight.
Brian Blaney, Cole Custer, and there's so many to choose from because pretty much all my drivers are going to be overweight. So Eric Jones, I want to be overweight on too. And then underweight would be Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and we'll go with Michael McDowell.
All right, Mike, give me your 3.
Targeting me.
Yeah, so let's see. Let me hear your overweights is underweights. What's the move here, Mike?
So I'm gonna be overweight on Kyle Busch. I just think this. it's either going to be this race today or it's going to be tomorrow when he's just going to go out and just dominate the whole thing. I'm going to take my chance with him this week. I'm going to go overweight on Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, and probably Matt Kenseth. And then underweight, I'm going to have no Chase Elliott. I'm going to have no Denny and 0 Christopher Bell.
All right, and then give me your winners, right? Let's each pick a winner on this race. Coop, kick it off for us. Let's see if you can steal Mikey's driver. Who do you got?
I don't have a problem stealing Mikey's driver this week. I'm going with Chase Elliott, gut feeling that he pulls it out and does very well.
All right, Mikey, how about you? What do you got? Who is your guy?
I'm taking Rowdy, baby. Kyle Busch is going to get his shit together. Kyle Busch wins this race.
All right.
What makes you think he's going to be any different this race than any other race he's been this year? And you can't say because of how he's done. But what's the difference? Because you can't say his results.
You told me before the show about John Rahm. You said we need to get on him before everyone else. So Mike is just trying to get on Kyle Busch before everyone else.
No,
he's going to be so popular though. He ain't getting on him, man.
No, see, the Coop said is that's true. I mean, like, remember in NFL, it's like Will Fuller, 5%. Then magically he's 40% owned and he catches 3 touchdowns. I mean, Kyle Busch is always going to be high owned just with Kyle Busch, but I'm willing to ride out my Kyle Busch train. I mean, he's going to figure it out, and if he figures it out, it's going to be bad for the field that week, and I'm willing to keep riding.
Like, this is the way I look at Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin this week. Like, on paper, they look phenomenal. But, like, when we went into the second round showdown, who were the people we were wanting to play? Mangone. Who were we high on? 2 players we thought they were going to smash because of how they did in the first round.
I'm blanking right now. I don't know. Who were they?
Xander Schauffele.
Yes, Xander was the one.
Had a morning tea time, and then Victor Hovland. Another guy.
Yeah, Hovland was a lock. Yeah, he was the one.
And, what ended up happening? They were blah. Neither one did great. And I think that's what you're going to see from Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, it can totally happen that way. But that'll about do it for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the Run Pure Sports NASCAR show. We got to get out of here. I believe we have a show tomorrow. I don't know what time it's at, but we got another NASCAR show tomorrow. Yeah. So we should be there for that one. Guys, check out all the stuff that we got. We got MMA, soccer. We got every sport over in the Discord. So if you're not in the Discord and you're watching the show, you can only get it from the Discord. So I don't know how you'd be watching without it, but you got to be hanging out in the Discord with us. There's so much good stuff going on. But thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Please hit that like on the video for us. For me, Travis Mangone, Coop, and Mike, we're out of here.